Gimmick matches.
Oh boy.
There's so many.
It's your Hell in a Cell, Punjabi ladder of death, dungeon, I don't know what else to call it.
It's just... It's an interesting world of, it almost goes in, the vault of, wrestling gimmicks and wrestle crap. It's all together. There's so many different types of gimmicky kind of matches,
and
especially
I'm
matches.
Just thankful not to have been a wrestling guinea pig, and it's like, all right, you guys are going to fight with a ladder and go.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's your old school type gimmicky matches, like the Texas Tornado match, the strap match, chain match, battle royal.
What was the bell?
Cage match.
The bull rope match.
Bull rope match.
Yeah, that was a big one, especially, we know the huge professional wrestling market that was in Texas at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was bull rope matches were the end-all, be-all.
Well, that's what they did with, Superstar Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes in Madison Square Garden. Big bull rope match.
And then there are the really, really horrible ones, like the bull rope match Shawn Michaels wrote in his book at one point devolved into a manure match. I am so glad that I didn't have to be in that one.
When was that? Was that when he was first starting out?
Yeah, that was when actually, no, he was talking about when he was a kid and he was watching, I believe it was SWC.
Huh.
And he was talking about how one of the events that he went to was the bull rope match, and he said at the end of the bull rope match, one of the guys came down and poured manure on the other guy to set up a manure match for the next time. He's like, and at that point, I had no interest in seeing the manure match. He was like, I was satisfied with what happened when I saw it.
Well, you could see the good gimmick matches, like a cage match, battle royal, Survivor Series type of match, and then the bad ones,
there's a lot
pinata on a pole match.
There's a lot of times that it depends on. And who can forget the custody papers of Dominic Guerrero?
I refuse to watch.
Dominic Mysterio. It was Dominic Mysterio. It wasn't Guerrero.
Yeah.
Because Mysterio won that match. That would have been really weird if he took Eddie's kid away and Eddie was a heel.
That's horrible. Who writes that?
I don't know.
It's like Katie Vick. What's your favorite gimmick match? There's a lot.
It used to be the ladder match for the longest time,
okay.
And then I realized that those could only end a certain way, and that kind of really took out, some of the sting. I would have to say, I'm not big on the Rumble, honestly. That's never been one of mine. That was more of a just get me to WrestleMania, get it over with. Excuse me, I'm not a big Battle Royal guy.
I just don't like the Rumble because it's insane. Just put everybody in the ring at the same time.
I do like ladder matches. They're exciting. Tables matches, not so much. TLC were pretty good, but I gotta say,
it's tough.
I kind of like just a good freeform hardcore match where there's not really a specific object that becomes the focus of the match, and it's more on the individual competitors. Like some of my favorite matches, that involve weapons or stipulations or. Not the Inferno match, not stuff like that, but I'm thinking like Rob Van Dam against Jerry Lynn, Barely Legal, or not Barely Legal, Guilty as Charged, stuff like that. Those kind of matches. Those were more my favorites, just because it was you didn't know what was going to happen, and it was just wild and crazy and spilled all over the place.
ECW made its basically made its whole brand off of gimmick matches, specialty matches,
barbed wire matches, exploding barbed wire matches, tax, ladder matches. They had so many different variations.
Yeah, tables, scaffold. I love the scaffold matches; they're fun. But I like the '80s ones, where someone could possibly die.
Oh, I forgot the Clockwork Orange House of Fun. That's got to be up there because I love Raven.
That was very inventive.
It really was
Something different because at the time it's so hard. You figure was that 2003?
And one of my favorite stipulations ever: it must go through no less than 2 tables.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with a new style of match or a gimmicky type match, and that was a new one that I was pretty impressed with.
It was kind of an extension of Raven's rules, but not really, because that just allowed interference. The other one just kind of involved the whole different craziness with one side of the ropes being gone and having a fence there and everything else.
Well, I like that hardcore cage match in '98 that him and Paige had.
Yeah, that was
Slamboree. That was cool.
Cage matches are another one where it's just the general variation it's very entertaining. I didn't like a lot of the escape ones. I like more of it just being an extension of violence. Those were more my favorite.
Yeah, like War Games, back to that. That was cool. I like that, that WCW cage where, Chamber of Horrors kind of style, whatever. I like that. Thunder
You and I
Doom.
are both just licking our chops to get to the bad gimmick matches. We can't wait to get into the Planet of the Apes cage and everything else.
Well, without further ado, let's get into... That was one of the... That was actually based off, I think, a Mexican type of
Yeah,
cage.
I believe we did see it in AAA before that, but yeah, we need to. We can't wait any longer. I'm sorry, guys. We got to talk about the worst gimmick matches that we've ever seen.
TNA takes the cake for most of them.
Absolutely.
Some of the worst pieces of shit.
Not only blatant knockoffs and then calling it something else. Not only their own individual ideas that fail miserably, but just the really, really bizarre ones that left you scratching your head.
The reverse battle royal. Stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Do you remember Elevation X where they added a steel platform across the top? Which wasn't a bad idea, but then they put poor Rhino in the match.
How the hell is he going to bounce on that? Jeez.
It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen with his fat little legs trying to walk across this platform.
Yeah, it's like, no way. It's not going to happen. I didn't even watch. I wanted to watch, but I never got a chance to watch
it. Was entertaining. But the Planet of the Apes cage was glorious.
It's a giant bird cage.
It was orange. It only had a few camera holes. You could barely see into it. The camera holes weren't big enough for the cameras to pivot, by the way, so a lot of times you would miss half of what was happening in the match.
Very boring.
The whole point of it was everyone started in the cage, and the object was to... Wait, was the object to get into the cage the first time they did it? Didn't they have one that way?
Sure. I'm sure they did. I've never...
No, you know what they did? Like, a lot of them were you had to escape through the tiny hole at the top, which was almost impossible to get out of, but I swear...
Escape out of the bird cage. Keep going with it. Just
there was to get into the cage. I've seen ones like that. It was so bad. I mean, you can't even imagine. They looked so disinterested in being in it. It just wasn't a very good style match concept. None of the cruiserweights looked happy. You looked Skipper, I believe, was in one of them. It was nice to see him again, but God, was it bad. And, as for the blatantly ripping off of other topics, my favorite, Full Metal Mayhem. Clearly TLC, it's just the belt's not hanging there. And it's basically just an excuse for them to do whatever. I mean, you gotta like that. There's been some good ones, there's been some bad ones, but actually no, I'm sorry, correct that. They do have their own TLC matches, and they just call it TLC. They give no attempt at all to cover that up or make it like it's something else. It's just TLC. You remember that.
Yeah.
And they blatantly exploited the Hardys' fame and the Dudleys in it. And every time Jeff Hardy got a title shot, it seemed TLC.
Oh, they love that. I do like the one at WrestleMania, though. The 2001, 17.
Which one?
Tables, ladders, and chairs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those
one.
were good matches, but I'm talking about just in TNA ripping it off and even calling it TLC and not bothering to change the name.
Well, I mean, it's just, TNA, they have no identity. I did like the Monsters Ball they did.
Yeah, but the only thing I didn't like about Monsters Ball, do you remember the incredibly untrue stipulation they had in the beginning? For those of you that don't remember, to refresh your memory, the whole point of Monsters Ball was originally that they were locked in a cell separately for 24 hours in solitary confinement with no food or water. Can you imagine if they actually would have tried to wrestle like that?
They would have been dead. Like, they would just...
Samoa Joe would have just been vomiting from blood sugar being low.
They would have been also tired. No one would have done anything. Earl Hebner would have won.
Wait, maybe we know what Sting did for a training regimen every time he was in TNA.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God, that was horrible.
It was really bad.
Well, I mean, the concept for it was basically a hardcore... The whole thing was a hardcore match, and that fans were so deprived from. They thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It was overhyped, overrated, and it was a decent match, but it wasn't anything special.
Pretty much, like a lot of what TNA
Because that was like what Monty Brown against Abyss against...
Samoa Joe, and Raven was in one of them, and they had a whole bunch of different people in them.
And Terry Funk, and Hoss Funk, and
Dory Funk, and...
Jimmy Jack Funk, Flash Funk.
That one again.
No, but yeah, that was okay. But and then later on down the line, they just got junkier looking. The Monsters Ball matches, they weren't. I mean, they were just sloppy.
I also love when something goes horribly wrong, like the lethal walkdown where the roof didn't deploy and Sting had to walk down with the garbage cans. Actually, they weren't even full of weapons. He had like 2 sticks in each one.
That was one of the worst lockdowns. TNA owes us money. We sat through some of the worst shows and pay-per-views and live events I've ever seen.
Could we claim severe emotional distress?
I think so. We got a good lawsuit on our hands. What was the... let's see. There was another TNA... match that was just horrendous. God, there's so many.
Not Ultimate X, that was okay.
No.
King of the Mountain was overly complicated.
That was...
I didn't like the whole you have to go to the penalty box. I'm like, why?
It's a glorified ladder match was all that was.
With pinfalls. Really confusing pinfalls.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the... It was an interesting concept, but like, wouldn't you have like the mountain just be more like different types of matches instead
I
of
kind of
just
figured
like
there'd be an actual mountain instead of just the ladder.
that'd be interesting if they made some kind of weird like ladder mountain thing or something crazy. I don't know. It's TNA; they'll do anything.
Yeah, but
Um,
we know how thoroughly TNA's engineers built things. You remember the part of the stage they used to fall through all the
oh
time, the
yeah,
wooden covered one?
God. Oh I know a match. It's that the Ultimate X. I like it, but it's like
Enough already.
yeah, there's too much. It's overexposure. Like the last one I saw was cheesy.
They
Like
used to have them on Impact. That's what I didn't
mm-hmm,
like.
mm. Yeah, I got
Of
bored
course,
with
now
it.
we have to watch Destination X on Impact because they don't have the money to run pay-per-views.
And I've watched like the very first ones. They were okay, but they weren't.
They weren't anything special. It was like
No,
Michael Shane winning. I'm like, well, you had a really great career. You were gone in 3 years.
the better ones were like with AJ Styles, like P. Williams, and like
Chris Daniels
Sabin.
and people like that.
Yeah,
But like the entry level, you remember the ones they had for like the contenders, and it's like half of you aren't going to be on the show ever again.
yeah. I mean, I don't like Joker. They had that Joker's Wild tournament. The
I actually
for
like
the
that.
belts.
Oh, that one. No,
I
that
thought that was
good.
stupid.
I hated that.
The Battle Bowl one they do now. I like.
That was good. Yeah,
I like Battle Bowl. Let's talk about Battle Bowl. What a great concept.
it really was.
God bless it.
And you know what? We're glad that TNA kind of sort of brought it back. Yeah, it was a horribly watered down version, but it was funny
Yeah.
and it was good.
We were living that nostalgia, you know. I mean, the first Battle Bowl when Sting won it, that was awesome. It was just something different. Like, I mean, per se, I don't know if it was a good idea to put it Starrcade, but I mean, if it's the big one, then you know it's worth it. But
Speaking of tournaments we hated, though, you remember that whole period of time leading up to the We Surrender pay-per-view where it was just what was the Bound for Glory series?
oh, that's the one I want to talk about.
Oh my!
That whole thing is
God.
garbage.
You expect me to pay attention for 5 months while y'all fight, and I have to include the results from live shows to determine who's in first place with the points? That's like an 82-game hockey season. I don't have time for that. I love hockey, but it's I don't have time for that in wrestling.
Who cares? It just screws up a good storyline that could possibly go from May to October. It's just, the whole thing sucked. I don't care. It was overexposure of everyone. There's feuds that got exhausted quickly and fast. Terrible.
And when you only have 10 people in it, you've seen the same matches like 3 times already. It's like enough.
Garbage. People loved it. I thought it was garbage
And then there were
crap.
really confusing parts like, okay, we're going to have a random battle royal. This one's worth 20 points, though, instead of 10. Then you have to, it's like this for a submission, this for a pinfall, this for a disqualification. Enough.
Well, fans shouldn't have to do a lot of math when they're
And
watching
why
wrestling.
do I need to wait that long for a number one contender? Aren't you going to defend the belt?
Yeah, I mean,
Because remember, none of the people in the BFG series ever got a title shot, and it was like 10 of their biggest guys.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. But the best part about Battle Bowl, I mean, it's star-studded cast most
Missy
of the times.
Hyatt.
Yeah,
No,
Missy
that
Hyatt.
wasn't it.
Reading the names, that was always fun. I just like the concept. Like, you don't know who your partner's going to be, and you got to get to, like, the Super Bowl part of it, you know, and your tag team that's thrown together, like, 5 minutes beforehand has to get through. And if you survive that, you have to go to the Battle Royal, and if you survive that, you're the winner.
Pretty much.
Great concept. A lot of great wrestlers in that. I don't like the Muda one, the second one. I didn't think that was that good.
I don't like gimmick or concept matches either that get moved from where they were originally at and then on such a low budget. You remember when they did that with King of the Ring and I had to watch it on like Raw or Sunday Night Heat? I'm like, what is this? Why don't you have your own show?
Well, that's like the same thing with Battle Bowl. They made it its own pay-per-view in '93, which was fine. But then they didn't continue it. That's the problem. Like, there's no continuity with that pay-per-view.
Pretty much.
That's what kind of killed it, I think. I think it was like good, but it has to be its own pay-per-view. It can't be a part of Starrcade.
No.
But yeah, when they like '93 Vader won, and then '94 or '96 they brought it back at Slamboree and DDP won. Lackluster pay-per-view, the '96 one. They screwed that all up. '93 was pretty good.
What are some of your favorite or least favorite or favorite one to make fun of WWE gimmick matches that you remember?
A fighting was the Bunkhouse Battle Royals.
Yes.
I thought they were hilarious. It was
They
like the
were.
first kind of hardcore kind of match
That you
per
remember,
se
really?
for WWE. Like, not that it hadn't happened, but like hardcore kind of anything goes kind of match. That's what I liked about it.
I remember the pure comedy of the Boiler Room matches mixed with
Yeah.
the something horrible was going to happen.
Those were so confusing. Did you ever
It
remember?
was so dark. I'm like, where is everyone? I can't even see the Undertaker.
Well, the main pay-per-view that did a lot of these matches too was that Uncensored like WWF had like they had like freaking Barry Darsow wrestle Dustin Rhodes in like some kind of truck match or whatever. So I mean that was they were fighting in hay and God knows what else. They were a live truck was driving them on the interstate.
Yeah, that was the moving vehicle match.
Yeah, like what the hell?
And to take it a step farther, do you remember the WCW Junkyard Hell match?
Oh, everyone got hurt. I'm like, oh, I wonder why. You're in a freaking junkyard. Like, no wonder Steve Regal wore like
unsafe place ever.
Oh my God,
Regal had like layers upon layers of
everything he could possibly find to like protect himself, and I don't blame him. Freaking Silver King got busted on a windshield and they got like 100-something stitches on his shoulder. Like, jeez, I wouldn't do that crap. All you're getting out of me in that match is if I'm even freaking there.
I'm just gonna lay down and get pinned.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay out of most of it. I'm not getting slammed on anything. F off on that.
Yeah, I'm not getting tetanus.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fight around the cars, and that's all you're getting. And if they don't like it, fire me because I'm not doing all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, that was bad.
But see, that's interesting too because it shows you WCW. Everyone competed with hardcore in '98 to like about 2000. That was a hot item, and everybody had like a special. They tried to make their own brand of hardcore. WWF did it.
Do you remember
WCW
the crazy
did it.
spots they used to do, like Undertaker chokeslamming Rikishi off the cell into a hay truck?
Oh yeah,
or
all this, like Steve
Austin
Blackman
dropping Triple H inside of a car.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was almost turning into like this whole like stuntman kind of thing. I mean, and back to that junkyard match too. Like, I mean, it was like. It showed you that WCW could compete with hardcore in a way, but look at the bigger scale. They rented a whole freaking junkyard. I mean, I'm sure that wasn't cheap. I mean, half of the ECW was in it anyway. They had like what, the Sandman, Public Enemy was in that, Mikey Whipwreck.
Although, if we're gonna talk gimmick matches, one of the ones that we all love, that we even have an honorary tradition of. Who could forget the 24-hour championship rule for the hardcore title?
That was amazing.
I mean, pre 9/11, when they went to the airport and he scrambled through the luggage thing where he almost lost his head because he didn't realize the thing was low.
Yeah.
The Funhouse, the playpen was my favorite one. The one where he was in the ball pit, like Chuck E. Cheese.
Glorious.
Yeah.
My thing was too. I really wanted for the invasion was Norman Smiley to come and fight like Crash Holly and have them just not pin each other because they're too afraid. And have everyone else come in to try to pin both of them. Because really that's how it was kind of going in both companies.
Like two mentors like pushing them to fight,
yeah.
like brainwashing them, and it's not working.
I think it would have been great. I mean, we're going to go back to the invasion. We have an ongoing series about the invasion. It's just tons of podcasts are going to be about that. But check out NSR 24, that podcast for the first part of the invasion.
Personal favorite.
Yeah, that whole thing was that was built up. That's a gimmick in itself, the invasion. That was built up so perfectly on both ends. Not the whole thing what they ended up having, but what they could have had. Everything. The stars aligned for that, and they blew it. Just everywhere you look, the tag teams, singles, hardcore, women, gimmicks, referees, and now everything matched up. There could have been a good fight for anything.
I have a question. You might remember this. I don't necessarily remember. I remember it's what the feud was based on, but did they have a match involving this? Do you remember when Jean-Pierre Lafitte, the Pirate, stole Bret Hart's jacket?
Yeah.
Was there like a jacket on a pole match, or was it just like a normal match, and then whoever won got to keep the jacket?
I think it was a normal match. I say that was in like December of 05 or something. Or no, not 05, 95.
Yeah, 05. Bret Hart could barely walk by now.
Yeah, Bret Hart was hanging around. Yeah, that was like 95, like late 95. I remember that. Jean-Pierre Lafitte, yeah, that was terrible.
The nightstick on a pole match. We saw that one several times, actually, because they brought back Luther Reigns, which was kind of like a similar character, and we get to see that. He was like the second coming of Nails.
He was kind of unique.
Why didn't they ever do it like he was Nails' illegitimate son, like an inside joke like that? That would have been funny.
They got that Alcatraz guy, like in the Independence. He's, a prisoner. Could do something.
Oh, God, the prisoner, the convict in, what was that? The one from Oklahoma City we used to make fun of that was on 188. You remember that awful one? It was called Impact Wrestling, and they had green robes.
I'm trying to think what that was.
You'd be like, this is just awful.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that was like the big Greek god guy, but he was Hispanic.
God, that was so weird. That was on like all the time.
And they had their bald CM Punk, but he was like really, really skinny, named Double D.
And like the owner was like in jeans and a t-shirt.
There was like some hot chick that was the owner, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's like two face and heel ones.
Yeah. Yeah. They looked alike this, so I wasn't sure.
I don't remember what that was, but I know the name. I don't know the name of it. I remember seeing it though. God, what a mess.
That was a good stipulation.
Remember that one, like the dog kennel match with like
Dog Kennel from Hell match. That was the one. There was that, and then do you remember the awful Hell in a Cell with Bossman and Taker?
that was crap at Mania.
All they did was punch each other.
Was that Mania '99?
Yeah.
That was like just another pay-per-view.
Do you remember the basement match?
Nothing special about that.
Dungeon match.
Yeah, that was kind of dumb
That
too.
was bad.
Chamber of Horrors match, Halloween Havoc. I mean, at the time it was cheesy, but if you're a kid, it's cool, you know.
The Championship Scramble. I still believe they should count Brian Kendrick's 3-minute WWE title reign because he'd been Triple H.
Oh, that was it with the Bash or something, or was that the September pay-per-view?
Oh, they did like 3 of them, and they were all horrible.
What happened to that Brian Kendrick push? Did he ever like? Why didn't they?
He's in NJPW, I think.
But I don't know why at the time WWE didn't make him bigger than he was. Like they do that. They tease them like they're gonna be something, and nothing ever happens.
Well, TNA did the same thing. They had him beat Abyss and then nothing. Unfortunately for Brian Kendrick, he won the title about 2 years before they started doing Option C.
Yeah, they cheated him out of a decent run there. I think. I mean, you know, there's World War III. That was a great. That was a fun match.
Oh, the Punjabi prison match that the Great Khali didn't even wrestle in.
Yeah, what about that?
The first one.
Did hepatitis or something?
No, I don't know. They just randomly switched it to the Big Show, and he faced the Undertaker, and Taker won.
Stupid. That's so stupid. That's like when it's Survivor Series when they have a team, and then these two guys got hurt. We got a sub. I mean, there's like one Survivor Series where like half the team was going, like sub everybody out. I'm like, geez, why even bother then? If you're not going to give us Berserker, then don't give us anything.
There were some that were just absolute nightmares to watch. It was just like they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what to do with the stuff that you gave them to play with.
I know.
Or like they would think things would happen like, oh, he can rip the door off. No, he can't.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not working.
Well, that's like when Goldberg like put his hand through that windshield. That wasn't a good idea.
That was hilarious, though. And then, you remember when they sent Diesel out to interrupt Michael's match the one time? And he thought he could, like, shake the ring. Well, he couldn't. So he just started hitting the post with the chair to make noise. And he completely threw off Michaels. And he's like, what are you doing?
Remember that? Did you ever see that uncensored pay-per-view where it was, like, the Horsemen and Piper against, like, the NWO against... There's somebody else, too. Like, it was like a... It was a Horsemen's team, WCW... there was a WCW team, the Horseman team and NWO. It was like an uncensored. It was like a 12-man rumble. It was horrible, but it was
they were pretty bad.
Yeah, it was garbage. It was like some kind of weird gimmicky main event, and it was kind of like the War Games from '98, except there was like 3 more guys, but it was weird.
You know which one I've never seen a bad match of, except for when John Cena was involved with them? Ambulance matches. They were always good, and stretcher matches. They were always good.
They had that one with like Mike Awesome against the ICP, and the one fell off the top of the ambulance, got hurt real bad. It felt kind of bad.
I thought it was a bus. Didn't he?
It might have been the bus.
It was a bus, yeah.
It was an ambulance match, but I think they were on the bus or something.
No, it was a bus because it was curved. I remember. And
but was it an ambulance match or just like a regular match?
There might have been an ambulance there. There sure as hell was after he fell off the bus.
Yeah, he got messed up.
He hit the razor's edge on top of the bus, and he slid off the sides because it scalloped aluminum, and he went right off. He landed on his back a little bit. He flew like 3 feet and then right off one of the sides.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough to do that shit. I just wrestle in the ring, not like that, freaking on a bus.
I get nervous on a step ladder when I'm changing my light bulb. I'm not climbing a ladder 8 feet in the air, and you're not throwing me down. I'll tell you that.
Well, where's the art in that? I think Starrcade 2000 was ambulance match was Mike Awesome against Bigelow. I think it was pretty decent. I mean, don't quote me, but I think that's what the match was.
You know which ones I didn't like that turned into a big spot fest? The original Money in the Banks when they had them at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We've seen way too many of them. If you have to have
too
them
many
every year, stop it. Now, remember the one year they had 2 for 2 different titles?
Yeah.
And then this year they had 2, one for a #1 contendership, one for the title shot, or one for the belt.
It was a neat new way to create a ladder match type of thing.
It was just 5 people in a ladder match, though. It really wasn't.
But I mean, it was different for the time. I mean, something unique.
Yeah, the first 2 were good. After
but
that,
it's overexposure. It's too much. Yeah, you do it once in a while, not every year, and not every moment, not every pay-per-view.
I remember one of the really confusing ones was when they had a chair match, and Batista hit a low blow on the Undertaker, hit a power bomb, won the belt. Then Teddy Long came out and decided, no, it's a disqualification because he used a low blow in a chair match.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
Lumberjack matches are fun to watch. They're unique.
You know what? Honestly, I'm more interested in what goes on outside the ring and seeing who's there. You remember, like, we'd look at people and we wouldn't know who they were because we hadn't watched WWE in a while. I'd be like, who is that guy?
Is that Brooklyn Brawler out
TNA
there?
did that too, and we were like, is this guy trying to be Justin Gabriel? Who is he?
Yeah, who is that guy?
To figure out who he was.
I enjoyed World War III, and I'll tell you why. I was kind of mentioning
The
it.
cameramen don't.
Some of the worst camera work you'll ever find was like World War III. I mean, they would skip actions going on in one ring. I remember the '97 one.
They'd filmed the one with 3 people in it laying there
Luger,
instead of the one with 20 people.
Luger and Harlem Heat and them are standing around. Meanwhile, like the Berserkers beating the crap out of like the Steiners, and they're not panning to him. It's like, what are you doing? Very annoying. But and of course they don't show him getting eliminated, and it frustrates you as a fan because you want to see what's going on in the ring with the NWO and all those guys. But it was fun to watch because 60-man battle royal. I mean, I'll take that over the Rumble any day of the week.
My biggest pet peeves though in wrestling: triple threats and fatal 4-ways that aren't elimination. They are god awful.
They're just
it's
long.
It's just one big cluster and no one knows what to do.
I hated that Mania where they had like
Triple H and
yeah,
I didn't like that, and I did. Well, actually, that was one of the only
Benoit
threat matches that I liked.
He stuck out like a sore thumb. It was awful.
I remember just wanting Triple H to keep the belt or Michaels to win, and dreading Chris Benoit winning, but he did. And then
it's like Daniel Bryan, you know.
No, it's not as
well,
bad.
No, yeah, but
nothing's that bad.
It's like the comparison at the time, different time, but
no, see, Benoit was a legitimate wrestler. I just didn't want him to be world champion. I don't recognize Daniel Bryan as a legitimate wrestler. I hate him. He's my least favorite wrestler of all time, and that includes John Cena.
Good old Johnny Cena.
Hulk Hogan.
Terry
I can't believe I'm saying I hate someone more than Hulk Hogan, but I am.
Well, he wants to fight Cena now. Why? I don't care. I'm not going to buy the pay-per-view. I don't think Hogan has had a strong return at all. I think people don't care. I really don't.
I think the fact that they're fishing for him and they're that desperate is not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like those. The elimination ones are a lot better.
What about
the barbed wire steel cage match was just plastic. That was bad.
Well, that's like when Savage wrestled Hogan in one of them in Uncensored '98. They didn't even use the barbed wire on the cage.
No, it was just to discourage people from climbing in and out.
Yeah. If you're going to use barbed wire, you got to go all or nothing. Like that's what ECW is famous for, those barbed wire matches.
Well, it's like Mordecai when he had a sword. I'm like, don't tease me. Eventually, I'm going to expect you to use this thing.
Yeah, don't fool Ron. Well, FMW, they do gimmick matches too. God, the freaking ring was out in like the ocean, off a pier. They're having matches.
Was weird.
They do those bomb matches, death matches, pray to God match.
What was that one? Not CZW. The one that went out of business. XPW. You remember that?
Yeah.
Where it was like Sabu against the Puerto Rican guy and all that.
Terry Funk got messed up, man.
Everyone got hurt in that company. You know they were also an adult film company?
Yeah, that all kind of backfired. Like when some senator, someone like their child got blood all over them, they shut that company down.
I remember one of the pay-per-views that I found, they had a strip the girl completely nude stipulation. Like, I don't know that you can do this.
Well, XPW is one of those fly-by-nighters too.
I used to watch it though because it was remember it took over when they took off the Puerto Rican one.
Yeah.
And then they put that one on instead, so I had to watch it for a little while, and then IWC replaced that one.
We don't have like that strong flow of wrestling shows on like Friday or Saturday nights anymore on our local TV because we had like that Puerto Rican.
We don't even have the late night ones. We get the ROH replays, and I'm not sure when they're from.
Well, me and Jason were talking about that on one of the podcasts. Like we used to have like the Puerto Rico show. We used to have like that old. Not global wrestling, but like USWA or whatever. They play reruns of that. Then TNA, the local one.
TNA started. Yep. We had IWC and all that.
All local guys, yeah. And then all of a sudden it kind of just fizzed out around like 04, 05. And maybe probably 04. It just, Yeah. I like the Puerto Rican one. It was unique.
I like that too. That was pretty good. They always had the outdoor show, and they had that Shane guy who was actually a pretty good wrestler. TNA didn't use him right.
Of course
Neither
not.
did WWE. Oh, let's make him a referee.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard with wrestlers to cross over from other promotions if they're hot somewhere else and they come in and they fizz out because they can't relate or
another bad
time.
Gimmick match, the limo match. Those sucked. The last ride matches, the hearse ones, they were bad.
Yeah,
really bad.
Buried Alive, those were successful, for Taker.
He never won. I don't think he only won one of those, didn't he?
I don't know.
He won it. No, did he actually win against Mankind and get buried afterward, or did he get buried and lose? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It's like one of those ones that's so far. I mean, I really wasn't paying attention to WWF at that time.
I know. See, that's me and WCW at that time too. I wasn't paying attention to that.
Yeah, I was all over WCW. Like every week, I'd be watching.
That's funny though, because between the two of us, we know everything that happened from '96 on.
Yeah,
because we were watching different companies.
I mean, like when I saw like Who in the ring, and then like TL Hopper and all those guys fighting each other. No offense, but I'm watching the NWO.
You're watching solid mid carders too. You're watching a legitimate cruiserweight division.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you had everything.
Bob Holly, the Goon, and
Raven, and all that.
They weren't. I mean, those guys weren't really appealing to me on Raw, but
no, not at all. They weren't appealing to me either. I would usually just wait till the main events.
That was so pitiful back then. Russo was right, man.
What else did we have? We had
Well, Russo came up with some clever matches too. That pinata and a pole match. And
I always like the casket match.
Barbecue sauce match.
I can never go wrong with the casket match.
Well, that's a unique one.
I never liked the Inferno matches.
I like that one when Vader wrestled. What's his face? Kane. I thought it was neat.
Was that an Inferno match?
That was, yeah. I mean, that was like the first one they did, and I thought that was pretty unique.
I didn't even remember that.
Dangerous as hell.
I just remember him getting smashed with a wrench by Kane, and that being like kind of like how they wrote off Vader.
I like that they had that feud, though. I mean,
people forget he feuded with Mankind too.
Yeah,
Kane.
Yeah, it was a shame that Sid Vicious didn't hang around when Kane came around, because that would have been a good feud.
I didn't like the overrunning of hardcore though in the late '90s. Like
too much.
Chainsaw Charlie and Mick Foley and the Outlaws. Just enough. I don't care what
dumpster
you're
match
with each other now. Yeah, I mean that was really funny the first time when they pushed them off the stage, but I didn't need to see the match.
After a while, you get tired of it,
Yeah, it just became too commonplace. It's like, well, this is nothing special.
Well, I mean, there's also like those tag team 4-ways, fatal 4-way matches. I don't like the 4-way type of things.
No,
4 corners, triangle matches. Not a fan of them. I
didn't like the. Although I did like the bull rope matches where you touch the 4 corners and drag your opponent's lifeless corpse around. That was good.
I've seen some good bull rope matches. The Tower of Doom triple cage match.
Tower of Doom was good.
I like it. I mean, some people, the 80s, we had one for every decade. The 80s with the Bash, the 90s with Uncensored, and then 2000 with the Slamboree and David Arquette or whatever. Bless you.
Yeah.
But I think it was unique. You got to have unique things because wrestling, it's always got to evolve and it's always got to change and it's always got to have something fun.
And
you got to bring
it.
Have
helped some superstars and some of them it's like, why are you in this match? This makes absolutely no sense. Like anytime I saw a Big Show in a ladder match, I laughed, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, he could just reach his hand up and just pull the belt down.
Do you remember the one where they gave him his own giant ladder? It was like 400 pounds, but apparently they didn't test it enough, and he was having a really, really hard time moving it.
Wow, I didn't see that one.
It was one of the Money in the Banks.
Oh, God.
It ended up being the one that stupid midget won.
You see, I haven't watched any of them.
Don't. They're not good.
Well,
you know what else I like? Submission matches. We don't get them anymore.
No.
Because there's not... Chances are, if there's 2 guys in the ring, one of them probably doesn't even have a submission in his arsenal.
Yeah, they're not... Yeah.
They don't do enough of those. Iron Man matches, it depends. Sometimes they're 35 minutes of hell. Sometimes they're an hour of hell. Sometimes they're really, really good.
It just depends. I remember that one time that Monday Night Raw, it was like Angle against somebody for an hour.
Lesnar.
That was here. One was here in Pittsburgh. They had like a battle royal first, and then they had the...
Maybe that was a different one. I remember he faced Lesnar, but I think it was only half an hour on SmackDown.
I like the Iron Man matches if you're going to have a solid match. Not if you're going to do interference the whole time.
We were there for bragging rights. Oh my God. You remember having to sit through counting the minutes down of Orton and Cena? Although we did have a really funny moment where we thought he was going to kill him with fireworks.
They never had, we had that monster truck match with like Hogan and the Giant. I never even watched that.
God, that's awful.
Halloween Havoc had some neat ones too. That Texas Death Match, Vader and Cactus Jack was good. Yeah,
we haven't gotten a lot of from the mainstream companies, but they're really common in CZW and places like that. Hell, CZW is there in deathmatch belt,
which is interesting. I mean, it's pretty cool if you have that. I mean, you're pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point where is it too junky? Yeah, that seems like junk wrestling to me.
A lot of it is. It's like, well, I can't do a proper vertical suplex, so I'm just going to hit you in the head with the cheese grater.
Yeah, I'm just going to destroy your head. I'm trying to think of if there's any other kind of neat gimmicky matches.
Oh, do you remember when Vince McMahon pinned God?
No.
The tag match?
Wow.
It was the McMahons versus Shawn Michaels in a handicap match, but technically Shawn Michaels had a partner. It was God,
Oh wow.
and they had a spotlight as God. So McMahon, like, they knocked out Shawn Michaels, and they laid the spotlight in the middle of the ring, and McMahon laid in it, so he pinned God, and he won the match. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
McMahon, he's crazy. Remember, I'm trying to think. Well, they have like the Royal Rumble match, which it's all right.
Yeah, it's gotten so bad in recent years. You remember when Del Rio won, the last person he threw out was Santino, and we thought it was a joke?
He won the Rumble.
Yeah.
When was that?
And he lost the year that he faced Edge.
Yeah,
he won the Rumble and he lost.
No idea that he won. See, that's how forgettable it is to me anymore. It's just, who cares?
I know that. I actually had to remember that. I'm like, my God, he did win that match because Diesel came back. I was all excited because Nash came back.
Is that 40-man one?
Yeah. Oh God.
Hey, they did 108-man Royal Rumble for Japan. Yeah, that was like a long. That was a couple promotions there. I'm trying to think if there's any other type of matches, and I'm trying to think of the other promotions that have different types of matches.
I do love the G1 Climax, even though the block is extremely confusing, and like you're allowed to lose like 5 times, and you can still win your block because you have enough points. But they have like a 5-day tournament, and instead of doing the Royal Rumble, they have a bunch of singles matches. And then the 2 people with the most points, like, they meet at the end of it, which is way better than the Bound for Glory series because it's only 5 days and I don't have to worry about different stipulations. And then the winner gets a title shot. But the interesting thing is, you don't know who the champion is.
Yeah.
And it's not like where there's only one pay-per-view there. The champion has to survive and make it all the way from August until January at the Tokyo Dome. And whoever won the G1 has his title shot no matter who's champion.
So it's not like the Bound for Glory series, but better.
No, but it makes you wait longer.
Yeah,
it really is.
See, they always rip off something from Japan. Japan's always ahead of its time.
They really are, especially with toys.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to like go to the future for toy shopping, go there, buy some stuff, and wait 5 years.
They're smart, man. I'm telling you.
They are.
I'm trying to think of any other gimmicky type of match. Survivor Series, that's good. I like it. I think we've lost the edge with it.
A lot of luster. It's really. I mean, the point that they were actually going to get rid of it because it was doing so badly, that's not good.
Well, it's like they forgot the whole team concept, you know.
Or remember the year every match should be a team?
Yeah, which I don't mind, but
it's going to be good.
Yeah, like a lot of times they don't deliver.
They don't have the roster.
I really thought like 1999 Survivor Series was going to be good, and it was rushed, and it was just every match was too fast.
The empty arena matches were always a good time.
Yeah, that would.
Although, do you remember the one with Sting and Angle, and they actually had like a real match, and I was really confused?
Yeah, it's like, wait a second.
Although, granted, those can often be confused for normal TNA shows. I'm sorry.
Well, they're always they're always like grasping at straws to try to figure out something with TNA. I mean, it's just.
I remember. I'll never forget the Rock and Mick Foley Super Bowl weekend, though, or it was during the Super Bowl. And I changed the halftime show to that. Or maybe it was the day before, I don't remember.
I'm trying to think, WCW did a lot of gimmicky type matches.
Oh, Lord, did they.
They did tons of stuff. A lot of they do like those ones too where like the manager is in a cage and is like suspended over the ring.
They're big on cages and handcuffs.
Yeah.
They love the handcuffs and the cages. They did it with Chyna and she like ripped her way out.
Yeah. They always do stuff like that.
Harvey Whippleman on a pole match or whatever the hell it was.
Well, NWA used to do like Jim Cornette on top of the cage, you know, stuff like that.
No.
Yeah, I know. He would be suspended from a cage. There's a lot of like different types of matches like that. Or there's another. I mean, the pole match. They used to have like battle royals. They'd have something on a pole or
bra and panties match.
Yeah,
where the most armored up underwear I've ever seen that go all the way up to their stomach. I'm like, what is this?
I still love those bunkhouse battle royals though. They're just hilarious. Lenny Poffo in like a suit of armor, and then Mr. Fuji lasting like 2 minutes in one. He's just too old.
Hair versus hair.
Yeah, that was another one.
To see Bald Angle and Bald Big Show as a result of this.
And that Bald Angle thing, that was an old Buddy Roberts gimmick they did back in the 80s.
The Bald Big Show one, they shot him with a tranquilizer gun first. Classic.
Good God. I'm trying to think. WCW did.
Didn't they have body bag matches somewhere?
They did. They pretty much almost every promotion does that to a degree.
Garbage matches. They had everything you could think of that you could be thrown into, basically.
Yeah, I mean they did so much stuff.
They've done everything but kill your puppy if you lose.
Yeah, there are a lot of unique type of matches, you know. Well, Bash for the Beach too. They would do some gimmicky type of matches. The pole matches, well, it was interesting too. Remember the nightclub shows they used to do?
Yeah.
and they would have some kind of fun, like, throw somebody in the ocean. Not saying that's a gimmick, but it was just fun to watch. Um, there's nothing barroom brawl type matches. Remember they were doing that for a
I
while.
remember those. Those were on like the SmackDown games for years, and they were so much fun.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny and everybody getting beat up. That was kind of funny. But
Their Christmas ones were always fun when they had the hardcore matches during Christmas with the presents and whatnot.
God, hardcore was interesting back in the day, but I think it's kind of taken a backseat now.
Plus, I think they realized there's a lot more concern about blood and safety.
Should do like a carnival match where just the whole match.
Don't give TNA any ideas.
There we go. Let's start writing the gimmicks. Oh, that is awful. I hope they end that as quickly as it came in.
Well, they already have a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match.
It's a shame Raven's just too old to do that, you know.
He also has thyroid problems, but yeah, he's awesome.
I'd have to say, like, the Lockdown match is very creative, though.
I like Lockdown. Yeah, that's probably our favorite part of TNA when it's good.
Yeah. Well, here's another gimmick too, like the six-sided ring. That's a gimmick in itself.
I don't like it. I never did.
You know, what we didn't talk about was the scramble cage thing from like Ring of Honor. They used to do like that. They used to do some kind of like scramble cage kind of match.
Is that the one where they had to get into the cage?
I think they had to throw them out or something too.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
They used to do that. Ring of Honor does some interesting matches.
Occasionally, they have Ladder War, which is entertaining.
God bless that. Well, I'm Chris.
I'm Peck.
Good night.
Good night.